Hey everyone, today we're joined by Will Rhind. Will is the CEO of GraniteShares. We are here for a preview on all things Nvidia. That's of course the highly anticipated Nvidia earnings out on Wednesday the 28th. Will, thanks a lot for being here. So of course, everyone on Wall Street is eagerly awaiting earnings from Nvidia at 6.5% of the entire S&P 500. Shares have driven more than a quarter of the year-to-date gains so far for the entire index. Clearly a lot at stake. Will, what are your expectations? And do you think Nvidia can keep the momentum going?
Yeah, so thank you, JD, for having me. I think that in short, this is going to be another great quarter for Nvidia. So the expectation is that the company will beat earnings again. But I think that's almost not the story here, because in many ways, this story has been foretold by the other major tech companies that have already reported, the likes of Microsoft, who is Nvidia's largest customer, reporting that they're going to spend more on CapEx next year, which benefits Nvidia. The other massive hyperscaler, the data center customers, all reporting more CapEx in the cloud. So I think in many ways the breadcrumbs are always pointing to the fact that Nvidia is going to deliver a strong quarter again. I think it's more about what they say for the rest of the year and the environment for 2025, which people will be really focusing on.
You mentioned Microsoft there, and obviously, it's been reported some 40% or so of Nvidia's revenue is coming from a bunch of these big companies, including Microsoft. Will, to what degree does it concern you if we start to see those companies, aside from the CapEx promises, continue to build out their own artificial intelligence components, thereby decreasing their reliance in the long run on Nvidia?
Well, I think that may or may not happen over the long run, JD, but that is a long run story. So at the moment, what we are seeing is they are increasing their CapEx spending on AI. That is the big story. And Nvidia is the biggest beneficiary of that because they need those Nvidia chips, for the AI projects, the AI initiatives that they have going. And that's why this Q2 is not only, I think, going to be a good quarter, but that's why the market really is bullish on Nvidia over the next few quarters, because we've already seen, companies indicating that CapEx is continuing for next year.
What will you need to hear from Nvidia this week to give you a sense that it has been a successful quarter? And is there anything they say that might give you skepticism, completely aside from how the stock may react in after-hours trading or into Thursday's session?
I think really it's about the demand trajectory going forward. So leaving aside the actual earnings numbers, which I expect to be good, I think it's about demand trajectory going forward. So the new Blackwell chip that has a delay on that chip, we're looking for guidance around how that might affect earnings, particularly into the back half of the year, if that causes any kind of significant delay or not. So update on the Blackwell chip. Specifically. And then I think really it's about the geopolitics or the macro environment, particularly around the trade with China. And we probably have to wait till after the election for any kind of guidance as to the effects of a potential change in policy around the export controls or anything that might inhibit the company's demand from a market like China.
Have we been hearing about the election from other tech companies so far? And what more on that end might you be listening for this week?
Not a huge amount. I think, again, most companies are trying probably stay as neutral as they can. But clearly where it comes to export controls or tariffs, to a certain degree, we have the playbook because, we've seen what a Donald Trump presidency looks like. We've seen what we think could be a continuation of a Joe Biden presidency. So we have a good glimpse, I think, into what that playbook would look like under both candidates. And I think the major thing for me was that under both presidencies, the large tech companies have performed well, despite different policies that have been put in place. So I think the large mega cap tech companies are still positioned well, regardless of who wins the election.
Sure. What do you think is the biggest story right now involving Nvidia, Will, that we are not talking enough about?
I'm not sure that there's a story about Nvidia that we're not talking about. However, I think the biggest story is really whether you believe that AI is the fourth industrial revolution or not. And I think that's sort of the founding principle of your view on AI more broadly and your view on companies like Nvidia. So we know that the large or the mega cap tech companies will spend roughly $1 trillion over the capex cycle on AI, and Nvidia is going to be the biggest beneficiary of that, in the short to medium term. But I think the longer term, it's the effect of really how AI plays out and how it impacts our daily lives, and obviously society more broadly. That clearly we don't know, but that is probably the foundational point as to really how AI plays out over the longer run.
Yeah, we've got some merger and acquisition rumors for a lot of the big companies in the space. AMD spending nearly $5 billion recently to acquire ZT Systems. Obviously, their effort is to also try and scale and sell more AI chips. Do you think something like that can help close the gap on Nvidia from AMD, or is there something else that you see ultimately could impact Nvidia in the long run as competition heats up from names like AMD?
So the AMD move absolutely is designed to try and close that gap. They're playing catch up. Everybody's playing catch up to what Nvidia is doing at the moment. They are the market leader. They're a dominant player. Everybody else is playing second fiddle. So a move like AMD just made is certainly going to help things, and absolutely probably is the right move for that company. It's just they've got a long way to go before they catch up with Nvidia, and that's why Nvidia has this such commanding position within the AI race at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, it's a great perspective on a really important story this week. Arguably the thing set to move the market the most. We'll be watching closely. That's Will Rhind, the CEO of GraniteShares. Will, thanks a lot. Good to have you.
Thank you so much, JD. Great to talk to you.